Hi, everybody. I'm Debbie Levitt, and I am the, chief everything of Delta CX. We're a full service CX and UX agency. Thanks for coming to the Concentric conference, which I have organized. And of course, it's not without its bugs, but I'm grateful for everyone's involvement all 3 days. And today I am doing my completely rewritten talk, Stop Evangelizing UX and What to Do Instead. This talk is so rewritten that I finished it yesterday and haven't practiced it. So I'm hoping it doesn't run longer than an hour. I will do my best. For those of you not familiar with me, Delta CX is a CX and UX agency doing lots of work to project work for people who need CX and UX work, as well as lots of consulting with companies who need help with their strategy and operations, and especially shepherding customer centricity or combining Agile and customer centricity. So if I can help, let me know. And clients like to call me Mary Poppins because I fly in, fix everything I can, sing a few songs, and fly away to where I'm needed next. You can find me online. Join my universe, won't you please? The Slack channel is totally free. The Delta CX YouTube channel, I go live about 4 times a week. We have hundreds of hours of free content there. Ads are turned off. So it's really about, as you can tell from this event, bringing you as much free content as I can afford to bring you. So find me online. Now, you'll also notice I'm saying CX where many would expect to hear UX. So I am shifting my language a little bit, and I'll explain throughout the presentation why I've been doing that for the last few years. Also, you'll see a little camera icon on the bottom of my slides. That just means that my slide is done animating, and there's nothing else to animate. So if you like to take screenshots of slides or take a camera phone picture and tweet it, now is a good time because it's all there. Chat room says audio is weird. Okay. Hopefully audio is not weird. Maybe there was just a little blip. Okay. I guess I'll keep chat room open to the side, but I won't answer any questions until the end. I don't know how long this takes and I want to get through it. Okay. So we're in trouble. You know how misunderstood, circumvented, belittled, and overruled we are. You might not know how we got here, and at this point, it might not even matter. There are people in our industry who have been trying to evangelize and explain UX for years, decades, and their coworkers and leadership are still sure that UX is just pretty screens. Evangelism rarely works. And it's not just one problem. The core of our problems is nobody understands what we do. This leads to companies and teams who think that everybody's a designer, which means that anybody can do UX work. Product managers can wireframe. Business analysts can interview customers. Who needs specialists, right? Next, let's make sure that UX doesn't make any decisions without everybody's so-called alignment. UX is told to democratize, remove their power and autonomy so others can make decisions in our domain. Funny how we're never invited to make decisions in their domains. Well, since everybody wants to do UX work and make decisions about the product and its design, UX should run more workshops so we can all do UX work together. In fact, when you want to facilitate teammates stabbing at your specialized tasks, you can use some nicely packaged frameworks like design thinking, design sprints, lean UX, and more. Sorry, we're getting a message that William can't get into the Zoom room. So. Sorry, everybody, we'll edit this out later. You get to witness the fun live. Anyway, Randy will have to handle that. I am here. So as I was saying, meanwhile, we also have fake Agile, which says, forget customer satisfaction, let's just release something fast. We'll figure out months from now that it wasn't quite right. We'll pretend that we'll fix it later, but that rarely happens. Agile says you need UX and design on your teams, but not UX specialists. So just have some engineers read a UX book. Sorry, I'm getting notes about William. I should stop looking. So just have just have engineers read a UX book or take an online course. Then they can do the UX. Don't forget fake lean. Toyota's original definition of lean and Lean Six Sigma remind us that lean is about identifying and cutting anything that is wasteful to our company, process, or customer. But thanks to the Lean Startup book, everybody thinks lean means doing the absolute least you can to move to the next step. And why are we emulating startups who fail like 90% of the time? Fake lean should be cut for being wasteful and based on guesses. And because of all of this, we have ridiculous jobs that ask for the moon, don't assess if we can deliver any piece of the moon, and just check if we're visual designers. They want us to just take orders, guess at wireframes, and design something so fast so engineering can build it. 6 engineers needing 8 weeks for the project, that's normal. But UX wanting to do high quality UCD process work is big design up front. And that's evil. UX should only need like 2 days, right? During this hour, I hope to chip away at most of these and tell you how you can try to also. Our solution has traditionally been to evangelize CX and UX and what we do to everybody at our company. I see job descriptions that require UX evangelism. That tells me people at this company don't understand or respect UX. Good luck working here. No other role at your company spends time and effort evangelizing themselves the way that we do. Developers aren't making PowerPoints to explain why it's important to hire qualified developers and let them write code. QA isn't holding meetings to teach everyone the importance of testing software. It's just us, and it's making us look weird and whiny, and it's not working. There are many things people don't want to be sold. A new religion, going vegan, and the value of UX. Since October 2018, I've been presenting mostly at DevOps, engineering, Agile conferences, and more to a non-CX audience. They're engineering managers, developers, QA, product managers, project managers, business analysts, Agile coaches, and Scrum masters. I wanted to see if I could write a program that didn't come off as CX or UX evangelism, but would help them understand CX better, see why it's something important that must be done by experts and specialists, and give them concrete how-tos on working with us. It kind of goes like this. Each year I've completely rewritten it, so I just want to give you the short version of how I'm presenting this message in 2021. It used to be called DevOps ICU, as in your DevOps are in the intensive care unit. Then it was called Dev and UX. This year it's called Improving Agility by Using Customers' Definitions of Quality and Done. See what I did there? We fill our world with catchy sayings that we use as excuses when we're not agile, lean, or building what customers would give 5 stars out of 5. I talk a lot about the importance of quality over speed. If we're not building what customers need, it won't matter how fast we were. We can't congratulate ourselves for engineering efficiency if our product is garbage and always needs to be fixed later. I tell them Agile and the MVP model. Imagine that we have to collect that feedback after releasing our product when our risks and costs are highest. Since Agile tends to exclude CX and UX processes and professionals, Agile doesn't realize that we can get that feedback through early concept testing of CX prototypes. CX teammates should be part of project planning before we approve features that have low or no customer value. We used to do this. It was called research and development, R&D. Someone decided that R&D wasn't as cool as pretending we were a startup and just rushing out guesses. Focusing on faster, faster, faster has lowered product quality and customer satisfaction. We must get back to believing in R&D and R before D. I show how current sprint goals are based on the belief that at some point down the road, we'll learn if our product guess delivered some sort of benefit to the customer. But what if sprint goals looked more like Our focus is on user or customer outcome. CX or UX has confirmed that it delivers benefit to customer. This benefit will be measured by KPI or metric. Now we're not hoping to find out later if something delivered benefits to customers. Now we're going to measure how much success or failure we had. I tell them most companies aren't hiring enough of the right people. They're hiring visual designers who like to make wireframes, giving them orders, and essentially making them production designers. You need change agents who are problem finders and problem solvers. Instead of random teammates stopping their mission critical work to guess at ours, imagine if we had a paired CX architect team assigned to share a seat on the Agile or Scrum team. That could be two senior practitioners, or it could be a senior and an associate or apprentice, depending upon the nature of the project. Imagine those CX architects are 100% assigned to that team, not each split across 3 projects like most places I've worked. Next, we bring in a highly qualified and experienced CX researcher, senior, lead, hire, who has 2 associates or apprentices working with them. You want CX or UX to be agile, lean, and fast? Well, then you need more specialists working on it. Here you have a ratio of 5 CX specialists to 6 engineers. The CX budget to pay all of these people comes from what we save in engineering work, customer support not having to help people so much, like me just in a 3-hour Zoom chat, and sales, enjoying attracting and retaining more customers. If marketing has to spend more money promoting a mediocre product, they would save money when our product is a better natural match to customers and requires less marketing expenses and efforts. So staff up for CX. Don't let companies retrofit non-CX people into our roles and tasks. Stand up and speak out when the wrong people are considered, hired, or given our work. And seen. You can see my program at deltacx.com under the training section. I've got an older version on YouTube now, May 2021, but I hope to get the revised version up before the summer. And this would be the video to use at a workplace watch party. So what do we need to do instead of traditional UX evangelism? Let's start with better collaboration. I like to say that you will go much farther being an important part of the team than you will by holding another meeting about how you should be an important part of the team. We spend so much time talking about empathy, putting ourselves in our customers' shoes, researching people's experiences and designing for them, and then we don't do that for our own teammates. We don't consider that most of them don't want to hear another CX evangelism presentation. We don't consider what they need from us, what their experience is, why their CX dissatisfaction level is so high, what their job is like when we disappear and don't communicate. Imagine you're that product manager, that developer, that QA engineer. What do they need from you? Well, don't imagine, find out. We should be using our CX abilities to architect a coworker experience that matches everybody's needs. People come up to me after my talks at engineering conferences to complain that their CX teammates disappear into a black box for weeks or months. They slap a finalized design on developers and are never heard from again. Sometimes engineers receive designs they can't build, and nobody collaborated with them earlier to talk about technical limitations and requirements. We have to stop doing that. Many CX workers are avoiding engineers probably because it's less than no fun trying to work with the people often thinking the least of you. But the best way to change that relationship is to keep showing up, keep being involved, collaborate, ask them questions early in the process, show them the work as you go. Give cross-functional teammates all the documents that are fit to be passed around outside the CX team. Show them CX research videos, task analyses, customer feedback, your IA process, etc. Not because you need their approval, but it'll help if they see what you're really working on other than drawing boxes on a page. Get tools in place, tools for communication, sharing concepts, sharing documentation, sharing designs and specs. Ask for tickets in Jira, Jira, or whatever they're using. Don't settle for a Trello board of CX issues if they're all in Jira. You're on the team and should be part of their communication and documentation system. Make engineering issues and questions high priority. Teach them they can count on you to provide fast, thorough answers. When those tickets come in, I try to drop everything. I'm now their bottleneck. One might say I'm blocking the Agile team, so I can't say, oh, I'll answer them tomorrow. This screenshot is me responding to a QA lead 2 minutes after he tagged me in a ticket. Do that. If we only show up to meetings to fight or evangelize and never show up to bring positivity, help, improvement, discussion, and collaboration, then other people get a very one-sided impression of CX. Ask to be invited to the recurring and random team meetings. Go to as many of these as you can fit into your schedule. Work with management to improve how you're resourced and allocated so you can get to more of these meetings. You're probably thinking, more meetings? No, thank you. I go to them and I tell them I'm multitasking. I'm half listening and working on other things. If they need me, get my attention. If you're not there, there's a huge chance they will decide or change something about the product without consulting you. If you are there, even half there, they are more likely to turn to you and include you. Improving jobs and hiring. Last month, April 2021, I released a completely free online video training for HR recruiters, talent agents, sourcers, and hiring managers. Our jobs are a mess. Nobody seems to know how to correctly assess our skills. Job descriptions look like bad fridge magnet poetry. Many of us want to leave our jobs after only a few months. It's badly broken, and I'm doing what I can to fix it. You can check out the training on my deltacx.academy website. Please share it with every recruiter, hiring manager, and HR person you can think of. It's free, and it qualifies for SHRM PDU credits, SHRM. They pronounce that SHRM. I always want to say shroom like mushroom. I hear that would make them mad. Here's 3 slides from that training to talk quickly about jobs. Rule 1, no moving target jobs. You know, the ones where you're never doing the right thing at the right time because there isn't time to juggle everything the job is responsible for. One day your manager might be angry that you didn't get those wireframes done, so you work on wireframes. Well, where's your research findings? So you switch to research. Well, where's your final visual design? So you switch to that. Well, where are those personas? These moving target jobs can lead quickly to burnout, as well as mental and physical health issues. They can lead to self-doubt about being capable. They can lead to disrespect from teammates who just see a struggling person who can't get their job done. Hey, it's just a job. Why can't you get it done? Well, it's multiple people's full-time jobs. Let's improve this before we're showing up to HR because of health, burnout, stress, anxiety, or an exit interview. Rule 2, if you're not assessing for it, it's not in the job. If you have a long list of skills, but you're not going to check if the candidate can do these things, take those skills out of the job description. Many CX and UX jobs like to ask for research, writing, information architecture, interaction design, prototyping, visual design, front-end coding, and some marketing. Typically, someone checks the resume for the word design and decides this person must be great. Or they glance at the portfolio, see some pretty screens, and decide this person must be great. You had that huge list of skills that you wanted and you only checked for visual design? If you're not going to check if I'm good at information architecture, then don't make my role responsible for information architecture. You think you want a jack of all unicorns, but if my resume claims I can do these things, but I'm actually bad at them, do you really want me? Do you need someone who claimed they could do all these things, or did you actually need someone who could do all these things? You won't know if this is a claim or reality if you're not assessing the skills. I'm also recommending some new titles for us, all with CX. But more importantly, removing the word designer for people who are information architects, interaction designers, and service designers. When people hear designer, they hear pretty things, branding, and nice typography. But many of us don't do that and don't want people to assume we do. Architect is a better word. Unfortunately, there are some false gods out there claiming to be CX or UX models, but they aren't. They're the newest forms of evangelism, but they're making processes and outcomes at our companies worse. Aspirologies is my made up term for approaches or methods that are so poor or fake, they don't deserve to be called methodologies. That's giving them too much credibility. I have hours of these about these on my YouTube channel. Here's the short version. The main aspirologies you will run into are design sprints, design thinking, and so called lean UX, which is neither lean nor UX. Aspirologies have some common characteristics you can easily recognize, like codependency. CX seems to need everybody to do their job for and with them. Disrespect of teammates' time. Aspirology workshops or exercises require teammates to stop what they're doing for hours or days. Reliance on assumptions. Aspirologies prioritize speed over quality. They increase business and project risk by running with guesses, thinking that'll save time. They often start their processes with whatever a stakeholder says is our problem, challenge, or what we're building. Don Norman would say you have to reject that and find the real root causes. Giving specialized work to non specialists. Aspirologies love workshops where CX work is done by those without CX knowledge, expertise, experience, skill, or talent. Yet, where else would we do that? We don't hold workshops where everybody, including me, co decides the back end database architecture. Democratizing or decentralizing CX is completely fake. Many non CX roles demand to have authority and decision making power over user experience, yet those roles never give up power or decisions in their own domain. We don't have the cross functional team all making engineering decisions. Magically, the cries for democracy are only for CX and UX. They apply to no other domain, which is how we know this is fake. Fake customer centricity. We pretend that we really care about customers and their satisfaction, but we guess who they are and what they need. We don't observe or research the people we're building for. We pretend we have empathy and sympathy, but if we really cared about users' experiences, we wouldn't rush out garbage that doesn't solve customers' problems and improve their task accomplishment. Innovation and solution theater. How many never before seen world premiere ideas came out of these workshops? How many solutions were wrong, non viable, or were based on guesses versus being based on proper research? Vote for the winner. Somehow we don't all need to get together, brainstorm various product roadmaps, and then vote on our favorite roadmap. And we shouldn't pick products, features, or concepts American Idol style. Emotional outcomes. Everybody enjoyed the workshop. But where are real budget or ROI figures? What were our success criteria? Did our workshop even have success criteria? And enough buzzwords thrown in so that it sounds like CX even when it's not CX. You'll hear about customer journey maps, personas, problem solving, prototypes, and testing, but it's all just theater. You've been sold the promise that if you brought design sprints or design thinking into your company, you will really help people understand the value of design. You'll be more respected. You'll get the time, budget, and headcount you need to do your job well. Some of you have now been trying that for years. How's it going? Not the version you tell leadership, where you tell them people really enjoyed the workshops. I mean, how's it really going? The success criteria and ROI for all of those design sprints and design thinking exercises. You didn't have success criteria or measure ROI? Well, one easy success criterion would be: Did you get that seat at the table? Or is CX or UX now thoroughly respected and nobody else is trying to do your work, overrule you, circumvent you, or drag you into endless alignment meetings where they try to make decisions in your domain? If you ask for time or budget to do a 4 or 6 week research project, do you now get that time? And design and engineering wait for your results thanks to socializing design thinking? Is the UX department growing and hiring more highly qualified practitioners? Or are you hiring more UX, UI product designers acting as production designers who will make wireframes fast based on an ambiguous brief or some requirements? Or does someone say, research is slow and bloated, and we have empathy for users, just do some exercises and workshops? Here's the design thinking process in Portuguese, including a mini Olympics of possible technologies, user needs, and business objectives. When you interview for jobs and they ask your approach to CX design, CX research, or whatever your core specialty is, do you tell them you do design thinking and first you create empathy? If I looked at your portfolio of work, is that the process I would see? Why are we socializing, spreading, and training something we don't even do? When you're brought onto a new project at work, do you say to yourself, yep, time to switch into my design thinking mindset? Of course not. You have CX and UX running through your blood, and there is no off switch. I've never been asked to stop my UCD or HCD work and instead just do design thinking. Design thinking is a downgrade. And if you're not sure, watch Don Norman's recent video, which I added to my YouTube channel. He said design thinking is not working because companies aren't design driven. What he calls design driven, I call customer-centricity because many of our coworkers still think design is about making things pretty. Many of you will be familiar with the standard version 1 of design sprints. Define the problem, ideate, decide, prototype, and test. I guess design thinking wants to be a design sprint when it grows up. Facilitators started finding problems with design sprints, so they created new versions that don't replace version 1. They all exist, and you can pick the style you want. Version 2 of design sprints do not allow workshop attendees to prototype or test. The design sprint is 2 days long and over after picking the winner. The facilitator, or hopefully some CX experts, will prototype and test and report back to everybody how it went. Prototyping and testing were deemed too important to be stabbed at by the team, so it's left to experts. Version 3 of design sprints removed everything relating to defining the problem so that people aren't stabbing, guessing, or going with what they think customers do. They found that the problem the stakeholder presented was often garbage and couldn't be validated. So version 3 requires experts to do weeks of qualitative research before the design sprint. They interview customers, they create personas, they do the customer journey maps. These aren't done as team exercises. Everything is then shown to the design sprint attendees so they can understand the problem. I'm against all versions of design sprints because our work is about depth and quality. It's not about checking tasks off a list without caring about how well those tasks were done. Our company and projects are too important to be left to guessing, assuming, imagining, or crowdsourcing a customer journey map in a group exercise. Our work is not a craft project where everybody can come glue popsicle sticks together. It also shows that if we remove what design sprints know shouldn't be done as a group exercise, the only thing we have left is everybody sketch solutions and vote on your favorite. Design sprints are devolving. And who is making these changes? The agencies making insane money running design sprints. Like any good capitalists, they want to make money and look good by creating better outcomes for clients. Evidently, better outcomes happen when you take tasks away from the design sprint team. This means that if you've been wondering how to get your workplace out of the workshop and aspirology habit, and quitting cold turkey doesn't seem like an option, start by switching to version 2 and 3 of design sprints. Start showing them that there are newer versions that take less time and remove some of the risky guessing everybody in the room was doing. You can then eventually get them away from sketching screens and voting for their favorite by using my Delta CX Ideation workshop. I'll explain that a few slides from now. I do long workshops at engineering conferences and in private training. In one exercise, I show attendees a persona. I show them a customer journey map template. I give them a sample scenario like this persona needs to buy some insurance. I poll the attendees on what do they think is this persona's first step in their journey. Then I give them around 10 minutes to make a customer journey map. The point of the exercise is not to teach them to do our jobs or to tell them team workshops guessing at customer journey maps are great. Instead, I explain the high risks companies face when creating documentation based on guesses and assumptions without doing real research. When I last did one of these workshops in September 2020, before I could get to that point, the big reveal of why I was telling them about this, a workshop attendee said, "Serious business decisions will be made from this, and we're guessing at it. If this is what UX does, it makes me lose faith in UX." He was an engineer. Lose faith in UX, not in the exercise, not in customer journey maps, not in workshops. In UX, lose faith in UX. Team workshops teach people we do work by guessing, or we're incompetent and can't do our jobs, or we don't respect other teammates' time and we just love to drag them into endless meetings. Whether it's research by committee, design by committee, or something else by committee, the distinction between these and collaboration centers around two key questions. Who is doing the tasks you were hired to do? If the answer is only I am doing my job, then it's probably collaboration. If the answer is non-CX and non-UX roles are doing CX or UX work or tasks that are my job, then it's probably work by committee. This includes aspirologies and workshops. And second, who has decision-making power over your CX or UX domain? If others on the cross-functional team have mostly or completely equal say in the product design, CX or UX work, it's work by committee. If you have the whole cross-functional team vote on ideas during group sketching exercises, and that's the decision everybody's running with, that was a CX decision by committee. I recommend against that. It's great to show our work as we go to cross-functional teammates, not for their approval, but for collaboration and feedback. Hey, product manager, here's my work so far. Does it match requirements? Did I miss a user story? That's collaboration because you're doing your CX or UX job and the product manager is doing their job in looking at your work through product manager eyes. When you show engineering your wireframes or prototypes, you're checking that the concept is something they can build given the time and resources they have. Part of the collaboration is for you to get feedback on anything that could become an engineering issue so that you can architect and design around potential problems before they happen. You're doing your job, engineering is doing their job. So what can we do instead of these aspirologies and workshops? First, get out of the building, or during a pandemic, the virtual building. Gather the cross-functional team and stakeholders, leadership, and hire if you can get them involved. Have them observe customer interviews and field studies to better understand customers' realities, or at least have them watching videos or video clip montages later. This has to be better than people guessing at customers' experiences in more aspirologies or workshops. If your company still insists on doing design sprints or other workshops, after they're done, get all of the sketched solutions and move the best ideas through your UCD process, whether or not they won the popular vote. I've seen some companies circumvent CX and try to push the winning design straight to product management or engineering to be released to customers. Make sure product or feature ideas are given to you so that you can shepherd any idea with deep customer value. We don't hang ideas at our desk and ask teammates to vote on the best one. We test with real and archetypal customers to determine the best executions of the best ideas. Don't let things happen in your domain by committee. Any team exercise or workshop we do must have success criteria and KPIs. Calculate the costs and the ROI. Watch workshop outputs. What did they cost in the short and long term? What did these workshops produce, if anything? Why did they fail? Having success criteria and better calculating costs and ROI will shine bright spotlights when the workshop declares outcomes like everybody really enjoyed design thinking, or we had camaraderie and stakeholders felt involved. Shift terms to what you really mean. Talk about CX and UX without evangelizing. Refer to your tasks and processes by what they're called. Everybody at our job has complex stuff and complex terms. Nobody's watering down Kubernetes. Sorry, don't bother trying to type that. Don't water CX down, everybody. Another thing you can do instead is my Delta CX Ideation workshop. It can take me around a half hour just to explain it. So this is the very short version. The full version is in my Delta CX book. And note that these timings are approximate. You can spend more or less time as you see fit. There are also strategically planned breaks here, but I'm excluding those details to get through this fast. This workshop is run by a senior level or higher CX architect or researcher. That's probably you if you're watching this. This is not for agile coaches, product managers, and design thinkers. I don't offer a certificate in this. We have to own this. After some usual starting formalities, we get to know customers through your research data, video clips, task analyses, customer journey maps, personas, everything you have that makes sure everybody in the room understands our customers as well as you do. Next is the focus. What problem or challenge are we brainstorming today? Do we have any customer feedback or support tickets around this issue? Share those and help people get to know the problem as well as you helped them get to know customers. Don't discuss competitors or anything your company has tried in the past. The goal of each idea storm is for attendees to write or type out as many ideas as possible. You can use paper sticky notes or you can use virtual sticky notes. The format of the idea must be idea, because, persona or customer type, needs, desire, task, accomplishment, reason, etc. You can abbreviate this as a reminder as X because Y needs Z. That should look and feel a little familiar to your team since it's close to how user stories are formatted. For each idea storm, we also want a way to keep track of who posted that idea. That might be part of your online collaboration system, or you might ask people to add their names. Next, we introduce what we know about competitors doing in this space, what they're doing now, what they're rumored to do in the future. And now that people know that, time for another idea storm. The goal here is to innovate past competitors and fulfill customers' needs better than competitors. Next is your idea gives me another idea. Let attendees read around the board and post any new ideas that are sparked from reading other ideas. Remind them that this isn't about agreeing or voting. This is for if someone else's idea makes you think of a fresh idea or a variation that isn't on the board. Then we have a break. That isn't a break for the facilitator. They'll review all of the ideas, find patterns or themes, and reorganize the board. If there are multiple notes for identical ideas, keep one and move the duplicates to the side of the board out of sight. If there's an idea you can't make sense of, group it in a special area for questions and clarification. And it's okay to have helpers from CX or UX do this or do it yourself. After break, introduce the themes to the attendees. You don't have to read all the ideas out loud. They've hopefully already seen them. Only your themes are new to them. Plus, now is the time to clarify any ideas you didn't understand and get them in the right theme. Where many workshop models want you to vote for what people like or the best idea, the Delta CX Ideation Workshop has attendees voting on priority. Priority doesn't mean the coolest idea or the cheapest or the fastest. Encourage attendees to disregard any concerns or doubts about budget or timing. Think about customers and the original problem or the original goal and pick the 5 ideas you believe we should do first. In other workshops, people might walk away feeling, nobody liked my idea. Here, ideas that received fewer no votes might still be good ideas, but they just aren't top priorities. All ideas will be taken back to the CX department for further consideration and let people know that. After the ideation workshop, check all of the ideas for possible opportunities in customer value. We always credit people by name for their contribution so they will feel appreciated and know that we don't take credit for other people's ideas. The app now controls the room temperature, thanks to Pat, who came up with this idea in our July ideation workshop. You could even make little certificates, badges, or awards when people's ideas are used. This helps people want to collaborate with us more without demanding control of our process. They'll trust us. And finally, glow in the happiness that you didn't have to use any particular drawing of a screen. The happiness that after the workshop, nobody felt married to how this thing looks and works. We just have ideas. You figure out how they look and work. You work with potential and current customers to make sure executions of ideas truly work for them. You owned this. Nobody decided for you. People collaborated. It was only one day. You still have your power. It keeps you in the driver's seat. It includes teammates, and it collects fresh ideas from others. You will end up with a treasure chest of ideas for now and the future. How do we get that seat at the table, especially if evangelism and aspirologies didn't work or backfired? While UX is often thought of as artsy-fartsy, siloed hipsters wireframing screens, customer experience is hot right now. Some people think marketing shapes the customer experience, but that perspective has started to broaden. The Disney Institute has training and events on CX and how you can learn from Disney Parks and Hotels' approaches to the best customer experiences. I see so much right now from very famous consulting companies about CX. Gartner, I was pronounced that wrong. Gartner has an article on their site called Redesign Your Website to Do What Your Customers Want. Here are some more quotes from their site. 81% of marketers say their companies will compete on the basis of CX in 2 years. Most are destined to underdeliver. Address the 4 common mistakes that marketers should strive to avoid when looking to deliver value and making CX matter to leadership. Another one. Customer experience, CX, leaders are often the change agents in their organizations. Another one. It's getting harder for marketing leaders to build customer confidence in their brands, increase customer satisfaction, and drive customer loyalty. Customer experience is key to exceeding your customers' expectations. Forrester is also out there pushing customer experience. They interviewed me for one of their white papers on how to prioritize CX work. Their site says, quote, as a customer experience leader, you rally your organization around customer needs. You dismantle old ways of working and build new ones through the introduction of CX-focused disciplines that drive up efficiencies, competencies, and ultimately deliver business results. End quote. Doesn't that sound great? Both are promoting the ROI of CX and how leaders need to create change and drive strategies and initiatives that better match customers. They tend to be addressing marketing and marketing leaders, but that makes sense. If you have no CXO, and some companies don't even have a head of product, which branch that as a C-level executive is supposed to care about outcomes for customers? Marketing may be the Trojan horse for these efforts and our best partner at this stage. Hopefully, we'll be able to build our teams, have autonomy, and eventually our own C-level executive, CXO, the Chief Experience Officer. I've been saying for years that one way we can get a seat at the table is to partner with marketing. They have budgets and lots of things that we can improve that can be measured. We make them look good, they'll make us look good. We'll have metrics and ROI from those tight partnerships. When I speak at marketing conferences, I remind them that we're marketing's customer intelligence team. Don't guess at why people aren't converting from trial to paid, why conversions are low, and how our potential customers compare and decide. Surveys and scores don't tell us what's really going on. We can tell you who, what, how, why, and more so that marketing can strategize better and work more efficiently. Plus, a better product is cheaper and easier to market than the garbage most companies release. Now everybody's talking about ROI and using metrics, but they're often looking at much larger teams and projects. If you can tie outcomes directly to us and everybody agrees we get the credit, that's great. But more often than not, it's the double fantasy. First, the fantasy that we're going to have accurate metrics on a project that really measures improvements in the customer's experience and business outcomes, not time on the page or newsletter signups. Then we would have to show how we directly influence that and that it's not product or engineering or marketing. If the team takes credit for that and CX or UX doesn't really get the credit, we might find that this new form of evangelism isn't working either. Try it. But I wouldn't be surprised if one or both of those fantasies doesn't come true as often as we hope. So I'm going to tell you another way to get a seat at the table. I'm suggesting focusing on customer centricity and accountability. Good news! Nearly every company already claims to want these. You have nothing to sell them that they don't already claim to want. The trick will be to show leadership where they are falling short on these so we can create change. You will have to dig up some numbers and outcomes from projects that failed and delivered a poor customer experience. Start showcasing these as examples of wasted time, money, morale, customer trust, customer support, marketing dollars, sales efforts, and more. Showcase these as what happens when we're not customer centric. And if we're the shepherds of customer centricity, then calling what we do CX, customer experience, can make more sense. No, I don't want to fight over are they users or customers or humans or souls or something else. To me, everybody is a potential or current customer. A partner can be a customer. The more we freak out over these words, the more we look like an industry that was invented last week. Since just about every company thinks they want to be agile, you have to blend these. You can't make it sound like agility or customer centricity. Pick one. Here's how to make Agile truly customer-centric. First, build a world-class CX team of well-qualified practitioners. This is harder than it sounds because since most companies don't understand us, they just hire someone with a portfolio of pretty screens. Don't forget my free training program for HR recruiters and hiring managers on the Delta CX Academy website. Step 2. We're often told that we don't speak the business's language. There are even books and training on how we need to speak the business's language more. We care about the business, but we often feel like we're the only people truly caring about customers. When everybody is customer-centric, CX and UX won't look like the lone weirdos we accuse of not speaking the business's language. We need more people to speak the customer's language. Step 3. CX is part of our strategic approach to product. Start with research and solid knowledge of all of the people who will use or interact with this product in any way. Then, CX are collaborators to help shepherd customer value in requirements and stories. CX estimates their own time early in project planning, way before kickoff. And we get that time because people who care about agile, lean, and customer satisfaction recognize that getting our product right earlier pays off in time, money, morale, and more. Step 4, shift away from broken models and processes. The MVP is broken, but Scrum.org has an article saying it would be improved by calling it minimal inspectable increment. That's not customer-centric. It shows that old ways need complete reinvention, not slight renaming. Customers don't want something minimally viable. Stop holding aspirology workshops glorifying guessing, and stop building MVPs. Step 5. It doesn't ship if our target customers wouldn't see it as 5-star quality. Cut lean waste early. Scrap bad concepts before they're built. Product does not ship if it's not completely intuitive and usable by all customers. It doesn't ship if people with visual, mobility, hearing, cognitive issues, or other disability needs can't easily use it. Step 6. Don't let Agile force CX to work the way engineering wants engineering to work. There are ways to bring different domains together on a cross-functional team that don't require every domain to operate the way one domain has chosen to run their ship. Step 7. One CX practitioner or a paired CX architect team, as my Delta CX model suggests, is on the Agile or Scrum feature team, not as an outside consultant that they talk to when they're not sure where to put a button. Putting us on the team breaks down silos. Make sure there are product and team charters so everybody knows what everybody's responsible for and where each role's boundaries are. And step 8, every CX worker must be held accountable for their work and their part of a project. When a project experiences failure or customers are complaining, we have to look at where all of us failed. A few more slides. The side effects of holding CX workers accountable include removing or reassigning people who are unqualified or doing a poor job. Someone who's trying to fake it until they make it won't last long at your company if you're holding them accountable. Your workplace probably fires programmers who repeatedly write bad code, but few companies are firing a CX worker for doing CX work badly. It should be possible to lose your job by doing your job badly when you are getting the time, budget, resources, and other things you would need to do your job well. That's the if. If they're not giving us the time, budget, headcount, or resources to do a good job, this will come to light when we're held accountable, and someone will have to do something to improve that. If we were held accountable, bye workshops and just have empathy and guessing at how the product looks and works. Heads would roll when we didn't innovate in those workshops or when customers complain about the solution the workshop decided we'd build. Unqualified people would not want to guess at my work. Non-CX roles would not want to run the risk of interviewing customers badly or sketching terrible screens. If we held those people accountable for crappy screens, they might want to leave our work to us. Very often, product managers, engineers, and others want to make CX decisions or overrule ours. Hold them accountable for these decisions. If they make a decision that leads to customer dissatisfaction, poor ratings, more support tickets, customers leaving, etc., heads should roll. And if heads could possibly roll, I bet these roles wouldn't want to make decisions in our area of specialty. All of these together would improve culture and collaboration. So where do we start? Move away from UX and you need to understand what I do. And do you want UX or do you want UI? Because they're not the same. Nobody cares. And this isn't about you and doesn't anybody understand your job. You need to be a low ego action hero and start with common ground. Focus on customer centricity, customer satisfaction, and accountability because everybody claims to want those. Now you have that in common. Start there. Talk about how our company might be focused on competitive intelligence, but customer intelligence is part of business intelligence. You can't create the right business strategies or initiatives if you don't fully understand what customers' needs and tasks are. Once you have full intelligence on that, then you can see how to balance that with other business goals. Next, calculate or at least estimate what it costs our company when we have a flawed or disaster project or product or feature. This is from Lean Six Sigma. It's called the cost of poor quality, COPQ. So you can Google that to see what they say are the internal and external costs of poor quality. Then work with a project manager who might have more information about any of these so that you can be able to do a presentation on the real internal and external costs of a failed project or a flawed feature or a product that didn't match what customers needed. You can start with what the company spent internally on the project and all of the time it took multiple teams. How about marketing costs and sales efforts? Did anybody write training on these features? You can start to imagine all of the time and money spent internally on the project. If the project manager says, hey, that's their job, ask if you can partner on it because you're a problem finder and a problem solver for the customer and you'd like to do that internally as well. If the project manager doesn't want to help you, that's suspicious. Find someone who does. Someone should care about improving all of these things and finding ways to save time and money while improving customer satisfaction. You might need to work with someone from customer support to see what complaints, tickets, or issues they have about your project's features. Companies are sweeping the costs of poor quality under the rug, so they might not want you to shine the spotlight on it. But I think if you can resist talking about UX and just focus on Agile, Lean, improving efficiency, saving the company money, and improving customer satisfaction, anybody who doesn't seem to want that should look pretty weird. And knowing me, I'd call them out for not seeming to want those things. The project manager might wonder why you need all this information, so here's some talking points. Remind them that you are a problem finder and problem solver. You believe in Agile retros that ask us to look at what went wrong so it doesn't happen again. Agile requires teams and workers to reflect on their performance and look for ways to improve. You believe in Lean, so you're looking for how we can identify and reduce waste to save our company time, money, and everything on the cost of poor quality list. You want to find the root causes for the project's problems so we can improve our internal processes and customer centricity. And thinking about that marketing relationship, did we have the right KPIs? Are we really measuring customer satisfaction? Do we just have a score that says 84 out of 100? Do we know why customers are unhappy? Root causes are important here too. Remind them we can help marketing be more efficient by researching and utilizing more specific data about what's going wrong for customers and where we can improve. Surveys don't tell them enough. Let them know you don't want to blame any one person. Accountability is important, but right now this is about team accountability. It's about examining what goes wrong when we don't prioritize customers' needs or task accomplishment. What happens when we release guesses? Guesses that might come from workshops, MVPs, rushing, design by committee, or overconfidence in thinking, we know what the customers want. Then your report or presentation has to be able to say what can be done differently next time. Be specific. If you're not good with CX strategy, find someone who is. Have a detailed plan on how future projects can be better informed about customers' needs and tasks and how we can confirm the benefit to users way before engineering is writing a line of code and burning resources. Use everything you can from the Delta CX universe. Hit the Delta CX website. I've got lots of pages there with some of my models and methodologies, as well as information on the coaching, consulting, and fractional CX lead or CXO options we have. We're also a full-service agency, so we take on projects. If your company doesn't want to hire but will budget for an outside agency, perhaps we can do a project and show them how it's really done and the customer-centric value of it. People like things with catchy names. If it helps you at all, you can call anything high quality that you're doing Delta CX. If someone Googles that, they'll find my website, models, books, etc., so you won't be making it up. If you need a catchy name for what you're doing, tell them you're doing Delta CX. I've spent nearly 2 years putting out as much free content as I can on my Delta CX YouTube channel. The Aspirologies playlist should help a bit. check the conference sessions playlist. Find episode 109 in the live streamed podcasts playlist, though I plan to post a new version of that later in the summer. That's the Improving Agility by Using Customers' Definitions of Quality and Done. Hey, it's a start. Every Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. Italy time, I do office hours Ask Me Anything for an hour. I even have a way for you to submit a question anonymously in case you want to talk about your real job, no names or companies named. Join our Slack channel. We have hundreds of people there. Some are quite active. We help each other. I'm helping there too. deltacx.link/join Slack. Since it's been easy for me to do an hour talk, some Q&A, or a combination of those two without traveling and doing it remotely, I've been offering some companies my time for free. Some have paid, but if you think me talking to your company can help, let's arrange that. I find from speaking at engineering conferences that people are really confused about how to make their processes more customer-centric, and they're afraid of how taking the time to build something better will hurt agility. I explain how it helps agility, and I remind them nobody else is going to tell them this. Their Agile coaches and Scrum Masters aren't experts in CX. Nearly zero Agile models correctly address customer centricity, CX, or UX. Just tell me what you need. Find me privately and tell me what's going on. We'll come up with a plan to attack it. I had a call last week with someone who wanted tips on getting his teams away from UX workshops now that he sees they really don't work and they make people think they can do his work. Whatever your question is, let's find some answers. Sign up for a free coaching call with me so we can talk about what's going on in your world. deltacx.link/coaching. In closing, remember that what we've been calling UX maturity is really customer centricity. If your team doesn't care about customers or likes to guess about them, your organization is typically low maturity. When your company truly cares about customers and believes in taking time for good qualitative research and feeding those insights into strategies, initiatives, products, projects, etc., then it's high maturity. Let's work to shepherd customer centricity and accountability. Did it! 1 hour! Bing, 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 bing. Anyway, that's technically our time, but I'll stay a few minutes. And if anybody wants to ask anything in the chat room, I'd be happy to answer it, though the session is technically over. And you can certainly join back in AirMeet for our networking and roundtables and mentoring. But if you have a question, I'll stick around a few minutes and see if you need it, but not too late. We don't want to keep our wonderful typist too long. So where's my countdown timer? I only have a 2-minute countdown timer. Let's do 30-second countdown timer. Okay, there aren't any questions. Thank you also to Aletha for the comment in the chat room that said, thank you, this works better than evangelism in my experience as well, yay. So again, everybody get in touch, stay in touch. We will of course have our sessions tomorrow and hopefully we'll have worked out these Zoom problems by then. That's what I'm gonna go spend my time on, so I won't be in AirMeet. Thank you again to Savi for our great transcriptioning and typing. And I'm going to end this session for now, and I'll see everybody tomorrow. Bye.